Welcome to the High Level Human Podcast, a production of the James McGee Show. With your host, James McGee. He pulls no punches, he's in your face, and he keeps it real. Join him for candid discussions about life, leadership, and living the life of a high-level human.
Welcome back to the James McGee Show. I am your host. I am James McGee. We are here for a High Level Human Podcast. I have my guest tonight is Mr. Jason Kiefer. Jason, welcome to the show, and I am pumped that you are here, man.
James, I appreciate it. It was awesome to meet you the other day, and appreciate you coming on our podcast as well, because I've gotten a ton of great feedback from that episode. So,
man, that's
great
awesome.
To meet you, and appreciate Rich Crumman for making the.
Oh man, speaking of Rich, I'll go ahead and give him a shout out. I'm drinking water. I still have a couple jobs I got to do this afternoon, so I'm drinking water right now. But I'm still drinking out of the James McGee Show official mug from engravedusa.com, courtesy of Rich Crumman, who's just a great guy. Thank you, Rich, for hooking us up. And I'll tell you, Jason, I've got a friend of mine who is he's a good friend of mine, but he's also pulls no punches with me. And he tells me when I suck and tells me when I did well. And he called me just a little while ago and he said, "Man, that show was amazing." And I said, "I feel the same way." And I told him you were coming on. And so, man, I really appreciate you having me on. And, I said this the other night, that was the first podcast that I'd been on. And I had the most fun. I don't know if you watched what I did Monday night. I'm ready to give it up, just be a guest, because that was fun. That was fun, and I will be on your show. I'm gonna tell the same thing to Dead Leg. I'd love to be, any of those platforms. I think we had good chemistry. I think that we have like-minded thinking, and I think that that's what it's about. And that's kind of what I wanted to cover. Now, I want you definitely to tell us about yourself and how you got here and what your paying career is. But I really want to focus on the power of podcasting. And you've been doing it for a couple of years. I'm just getting started. And I think that, mainstream media, I think we'll both agree, they suck. They are fucking terrible.
Yep.
They are biased, but at the same time, they're controlling our nation. They're controlling everything. And how do we fight back? This is how we fight back.
Absolutely.
Is we do it this way. So tell us about yourself and tell us how you got here.
So, like you said, my name's Jason Kiefer. Live in the Cincinnati area, Cincinnati, Ohio, and I've been a fireman for, 25 years total, 23 full time. I got 4 more years, and then I get to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, as I say. But so fireman right out of high school. I was a fire explorer. Division of the Boy Scouts. You can go be an explorer, almost like a cadet. So did that. Went to college for business for probably about 2 semesters and said, "Fuck this! I don't want to sit behind a desk." So I went back to my fire chief and said, "Hey, I'd like to attempt to make a career out of this." And I was fortunate enough to get into the pension system young. So I got in at 21. So I'll be 48 when I retire.
It's awesome, man.
And then, like I said, figure something else out, hopefully see if this podcast thing takes off or not. But yeah, so, I'm part of a police and fire motorcycle group called the Warthogs. We actually used to have a chapter in New Orleans.
Okay.
A bunch of ICE agents were the members of that, but we've got roughly 100 chapters. We raise money for hurt cops and firemen, and we've got chapters in Canada, the United States, and then there's 4 guys in Norway that decided they wanted to form a chapter over there. So actually, I'm leaving tomorrow for Michigan for our annual, summer party / president's meeting. But so I ride Harleys, in my spare time, and started this podcasting hobby, and that's kind of, that's me in a nutshell, essentially. Got into the podcasting, it kind of very organically, but a bunch of buddies of mine, we hang out at this sports bar down the road, and everybody sits it's like Cheers. Everybody sits at their seat, move you're in my chair. You got to move over type thing. And yeah, one day, multiple days we're sitting there and, if you've hung out in a bar, people are full of shit. So you're listening to this guy over here and then you're listening to this guy. And I said, we need a microphone in the middle of this table so we can put out all the bullshit that you guys are spouting. And we talked about that for like a year. And finally, a buddy of mine and then another guy who doesn't hang out at the bar as often, but we wanted him on. We're like, what? Let's just start a podcast. So hit the Google machine, figure out how to do it. What do we need? So we started, in my basement with a handheld Zoom pod track. It had 4 XLR, inputs and had 4 headphone outputs. It just recorded everything to an SD card. And so we started with just audio and just uploading the audio. And we all, some of our first episodes were just absolutely horrendous. I mean, it was just us just sitting there bullshitting just like we would at the bar. But then, we sat down and the fun part with it was, okay, what do we name it? Because that's the hardest thing. What do we name it that's going to grab somebody? So, like the diligent students that we are, we reconvened back at the bar with legal pads of lists of names, and we just started crossing them off. Nope, I don't like that. Nope, that doesn't work. And we came up with one more and I'm out of here. So, it goes with the theme of it was born organically in a bar. And so now we're actually in the process of trademarking this. And then we set up an LLC just to kind of protect ourselves down the road if something were to happen. But so like we talk everyday stuff. What are the hot button items? I mean, obviously, right now, with President Trump getting shot at, there's a ton of ammunition there, and just the political climate anyway on both sides. They give us so much ammunition and I hate government. I hate it. I hate politicians. They're all liars. They say what they want to get elected, and then they don't, most of the time, don't do half the shit that they say. But it gives us plenty of fodder to talk about. But then, we cover everything, though. I mean, we'll hit sports news. We'll hit whatever's out there. It's not just all political. But so I started with my buddy Rob, who's a former police officer, former prosecutor, now defense attorney, and then another buddy of ours, Dan. We all live fairly close together, and Dan is in the media, so he's on our big AM radio station and used to be on the news. He used to be a newscaster. So he's got the voice. So I was like, Dan's perfect. I mean, he's been in media before. And then we've had some over this past year. We've had some challenges. Our buddy Rob got real sick, and he went down in January and not completely back yet. So it was just me and Dan, and then Dan may have a career opportunity coming down, so he had to leave. So I've got my buddy Andrew Pappas, who is a former township trustee here, and
who I love already.
Oh, he's
at the one time with him. This dude is he makes me look like a liberal.
He is an absolute trip. He's, as we speak, is at the RNC convention right now.
Oh man, I like.
And
that
then
dude.
I talked to Rich. Rich has helped us out. He's helped our podcast out and been a sponsor of
what
ours.
A great dude, man.
Oh, dude, he's the best. So I talked to Rich about hey, when Andrew can't come on, why don't you jump on? So we're working that out to figure out rotating those two in and out. But yeah, so I mean, we started this from the ground up, and as we were talking before we went live, would I like to make money doing it? Hell yeah. I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Sit there and bullshitting with buddies, and like
exactly.
you said, the people you get to meet, the networking.
Oh man, that is the best part. That really is the best part. So I want to clear one thing up.
Mm-hmm.
You hate the government, but you love America. That's why you hate the government, because you love your country. So you are a proud American. You just don't like and agree who runs the country and what their motive and agenda are.
Yeah, and not to go completely off the rails, but we've got a career politician as our president right now who hasn't done jack shit, and can probably barely spell his name. And sorry if I piss anybody off out there, but I'm proud to say I'm a Trump supporter, always have been, but I don't believe in these people. I don't care whether it's Trump or not. being in government for 52 years or 53, whatever it is, making a career out of it and not having anything to show for it.
And they're not the problem. So you're going to say that Trump is the problem? And I'm going to just be honest. I am a Republican, been a Republican since I was 18, and I always support national races, mainly because of Supreme Court. I'm going to be a Republican. Trump has not. I like his philosophies and ideas. Just personally, I was never a big fan, but I support him, and I think he did a good job. The problem with him in his first term, and I hope he does better in the second one because he's going to be the president, is he had some great ideas, but nobody would work with him because he's so, so brash.
Oh,
I just hope he because you can't get anything done if you're fighting people all the time. So, but I can tell you right now, I'm a fucking fan now, man.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. You're really starting to see, and I said this the other night. If you watched Man's a Man Monday, you're going to find out who somebody is. And I've been shot at. I've been in shootings, and I learned a lot about myself during those times. You can't fake what he did the other night.
Right.
You can't fake that, man. He got up like a fucking man. And so just because of that, that's what kind of leaders that we need. And Ron DeSantis, I'm kind of mad at him right now. He took my line, man. Did you see his speech last night?
Yeah, I did.
He took my line because I've been telling people that Biden was weekend at Bernie's and they've been propping this fucker up for 2 years, that he's been dead for 2 years. And he's right. That's why people like me and you, we love America. We hate the government because we love America so much.
Yeah, and the controlling aspect. I mean, our country's based off freedom, right?
Yep.
But they try to control the little guy via the media, the mainstream media, just like you were saying.
Yep.
To gas prices, they put the thumb down.
Yep.
Because they want us to have to rely on them. They don't want us to be independent thinkers at all.
Nope.
And it's frustrating. And, like I said, I mean, even if it wasn't Trump running, depending on who it was, most likely that's where my vote would go to get away from the current state that we're in. And I just think, through this, the beauty of podcasting is you can get your message out, and then it's networking. It's, hitting your platform to send mine out, and then me putting yours out.
Yep.
And that slowly builds, and it's like compound interest. The people that I've got to meet through podcasting, it's been amazing.
It's
lifelong friends, even if it's not even a podcast business venture type thing. I mean, it's lifelong friends of like-minded thinkers, and also not like-minded. I'm
good with people who don't. I'm good. I would tell you the truth. I would much rather talk to somebody intelligently, who doesn't think like me, because I like to be provoking, and I like to provoke their thoughts, and I want them to provoke mine. You and I, we definitely are like-minded, and it's cool and everything. But man, we're not really going to learn a whole lot from each other because we're alike. I think that our country works better, and we work better, and we grow better when we have intelligent conversations. I'll speak to anybody. I don't care what their stance is, unless they're just, I can't talk to people who are just that anti-cop because they're not intelligent conversations. I can't have unintelligent conversations.
Yeah. And you learn, I hope to learn something every day.
Yep.
And and my girlfriend will tell you, I'm very social. So when we're out, I make friends wherever I'm at. And then, if we do go down the political route or whatever, but even just learning people's backgrounds that grew up differently than me, I may learn something from you. And if everybody did that, and not saying that I'm, the only one, but I mean, if more people did that, this country would be in such a better place because we're learning from each other and we're learning from mistakes and we're getting better.
So somebody told me one time, and I've repeated this a lot, that anybody past the age of 5 knows something you don't know.
Yep.
When you think about that, the bum on the street, the kid who we think, oh, they're just a kid. they know at least they know many things you don't, but they know at least one thing that you do not know. When you go into that mindset, then you're gonna respect, you're gonna be open minded, and that's really what is that one statement I've carried with me. I'm like, you're right, man. I can learn something from anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fun part, like with the podcasting, so when we originally started ours, we were recording it in the back room of the bar that we started it at. They had like a little party room, and we knew the owner. So as we started getting more equipment, we went video, so we got a camera, better mics, mic stands, all the stuff. He let us keep our stuff there, and so we would record it in the back room. But occasionally we'd get like a really big guest, or I'd say big guest for us locally here.
Yeah.
And our very first live one, and that's where I met Eric Tansey from Failure to Stop. We had him on as just an audio guest, but then we had this guy, and you may have heard the name Stu Scheller, who was a lieutenant colonel in the Marines for 17 years, and he voiced out against the pullout of Afghanistan, and got a general discharge. Well, he was thrown in the brig, stripped of all his stuff, and then just
so he got a less than honorable discharge.
Yes, and so he wrote a book called Crisis of Command, which is a fantastic book, and it calls out all of the bullshit. But he was our first live guest, and
wow.
So we did that, and ironically, he's from where I live.
Okay,
I didn't know that. My girlfriend knew him. He graduated a couple years ahead of her, but I said, "Yeah, I want to get this guy Stu Scheller on." She's like, "Holy shit, I went to high school with him." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" So she ended up hooking it up, actually. But he was in town. He lives in North Carolina now, but he was in town, ironically, on election day 2 years ago, and we had him on, and we did it out in front of the bar. And one of our charter sponsors, our main sponsors, he's in the music industry, set us up with speakers, so the whole bar was flooded. I mean, just packed.
No way. That's awesome.
So we got a taste of like, oh man, I like doing these live ones. So then and with people that we know, we've had Bronson Arroyo, who pitched for the Red Sox and pitched for the Reds. We had him on live. Solomon Wilcots, who is a Bengals player, and then drawing a blank right now, but Merle Hodge, who played for the Steelers.
Oh yeah,
so we've had a bunch of sports people all live, in the bar, and just filled the place, and everybody had a blast. And I was like, this is so much fun.
Yeah, that is.
You're interacting with people, and then once we went on YouTube, with the live chats, to me, there's nothing better, because you want to talk about, getting charged. We've got a couple followers that they.
Oh yeah, that Cincy guy was heckling me the other night.
Yeah,
and I loved it, man. That was great, man.
Yeah,
I loved it.
You're getting that discourse, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And I know who that guy is,
but he seemed like he's an intelligent guy. He can have an intelligent conversation.
Yeah, and
so I'm going to respect that.
Yeah, and it's I tell him, like, I try to find a common ground with him, and doesn't always happen, but
yeah,
he still keeps coming back, which is what I love.
But that is the beauty, and that's why you're doing it. So, do you feel like podcasting is the way of the future, in that one day the mainstream media, one day in mine and your lifetime, that we're going to see the mainstream media start to dwindle away, as far as their influence is going to dwindle away more?
I think so, in the fact that, I mean, shit, you have what, over, probably 500,000 different podcasts, right?
Yeah. Mainstream
media, you're listening to what they're piping to you.
Yep.
Podcast, if I'm in my truck and I'm like, oh, I'm done with this one, it's not as interesting as I thought, boom, on to the next one.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm turning on James McGee show.
Yep.
Whatever. And so, yeah, we have options now that I know the mainstream media hates it, because, and you're already seeing some of their numbers already start to drop, just with the way podcasts have exploded, over the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they absolutely have. And, when I decided to do this, I had, a friend of mine said, man, why are you doing a podcast? And my question to him was, why aren't you doing one?
Yeah.
Because I got something to say. And what I'm proud of is people like you, normal, everyday people like me who recognize, and I'm a try to be a humble guy, and I don't claim to know everything, but I do have a lot of life experience. Why not us? What makes these people better than us? Who can relate to, and this is why I think that podcasts have become popular, is we don't have an agenda. We somewhat have an agenda, but it's not. We want to get our message out. We want to give our point across. And I'm like you. Hey, one day if I make some money with it, that's fine. But that's not what our agenda is. Our agenda is not to control the world. And our agenda is not to become billionaires off of this. So I think that speaks for itself of why we're doing it. You got to look at people's, what I always try to do is look at people's intentions and look at, instead of people's actions, look at their intentions. And I think when you look at the intention of the intentions of the national media, there's a lot of reasons to call foul on them.
Oh, absolutely. And like when you say agenda, so you saw how ours was the other night. We're very loosey goosey. I mean, it just is what it is, and whatever. And we covered one main topic because that was a pretty big topic. But I mean, normally, if you were to look at my browser here, I would have 8 or 9 different tabs open of stories that somebody else obviously wrote, but we give our opinion on it. And we obviously, like I said, Dan, when he was on, very political, very smart, knowledgeable, but I didn't agree with him on everything. So that would create debate between us.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So we're bouncing ideas. I'm like, oh shit, Dan, you know what? I didn't even think about it that way. Or here's why you're wrong.
Yeah.
And then it's buddies drinking beer, arguing back and forth with each other, which is just, it's just fun.
It is. And I'm going to tell you this, though. So, one of my shows is Two Finger Tuesday. And I've got Tom Wells on, which Tom, he's a Cincinnati area guy. And then I've got Joe Collins, who is a retired police chief in the Green Bay area. So how I came up with Two Finger Tuesday was my last job I had for 3 years. Well, I was the chief of staff for our district attorney. And so I always would say, hey, let's get a two finger. I've been saying that for probably 10 years, what a two finger is. So I came up with Two Finger Tuesday at work. So at 4:00 when we got off on Tuesdays, our executive staff would go have a drink. Jason, we got more shit done or more shit talked about in just that informal setting of having a drink. So that's why I came up on the show with Two Finger Tuesday. Hey, we're just going to sit around, we're going to have a drink, and we're going to fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you watch any of our Two Finger episodes, just because of the chemistry that Joe and Tom and I have, and Rich has been on, I'd love for you to come on one day. And we just have a good time. But the conversation, you get a lot more done. Just something about being belly up to that bar that brings out that, and it's not because, I only drink one, maybe two, or I might have a two finger that might be I got a friend of mine that has, that went to he lives here, but he went to the academy with Tom and Joe and I, Mark Krause. Well, Mark's got some big fat ass fingers. And so I said, we're going to have a Mark Krause two finger tonight. So, and it's not because we're intoxicated. It's just having that drink, man. Just something about whether, and this is the description I gave. So so I do Wine Wednesday. I'm gonna do that tonight. We weren't able to film Two Finger Tuesday, so Tom and Joe and I are going to come on tonight and do Wine Wednesday. But my daughter went away to college, and she came back her first summer, and she is not a talker. I mean, I don't think any teenage girl is. And so she likes wine. And when she was here for the summer, every night, her and her mother and I would have a glass of wine You know what happened? Conversation happened.
Yeah.
So I think that how y'all got your start in your podcast was over a drink.
Yep.
And look where it's comes. I'm not saying, hey, everybody we just need to drink more. No, I think we need to talk more.
Yeah.
And whether it's coffee, whether it's tea, whatever, find that conversation, what that how you get there. And I just think you got to have more conversations. And I love talking to people that don't agree with me.
Yeah. And when your guard's down, you're not under like in your case, you're not under the guise of the office.
Yep.
You're out in a social setting.
Mm-hmm.
And you're getting to know coworkers that you might not have normally gotten to know had they not shown up there. You see a different, and not in a bad way, you see a different side of people when they're outside of work. Because work is work, right? It's that 4-letter word. But you get to know your coworkers. And then, like in our case, I get to, when we have different guests on, I get to know these guests. I know the guys that I'm podcasting with now. I mean, we try to do 2 a week. And I spend a ton of time with those guys. So like, I know them, but then also there will be that wild card that, something will get thrown across, shot across the bow. I'm like, oh, wow, where'd that, I didn't even know you knew that. And then again, you dive into that, that topic, that subject matter. But no, I completely agree with you. I mean, it's when you're relaxed, your mind opens up a little bit more, you're not tunnel visioned in. So then you're willing to throw different ideas out or listen to other ideas that you may not have thought of. So I think it's great.
So when you're doing a show, and what's your intention? What do you want? What do you hope that your listeners are getting out of your show?
I'm hoping that they learn a different perspective of what they may have already, they may have seen that headline. We'll grab like a big headline, then we grab some stuff that's just kind of buried and, just weird oddity stuff or whatever. But hearing a different perspective of just go off a headline. I could give you a headline and I could have a headline, the same headline, and we may read it completely differently because that's what the media is doing. They're putting a hook in you and they want you to read further. So, you grab, a hot button item, hear a different perspective, and we may agree, but we may not. You may see that I read it completely different than you, and this is what I'm getting out of it, and this is why I'm getting that out of it. And it's that discourse between people, because not everybody operates like I do. Not everybody operates.
You're
like
right. Nope. When people say, I love to say when people like to brag, oh, I'm by the book. I tell them, man, I am too. I just have a different book.
Yeah, dude, I love that.
I just have a whole different book than the rest of the fucking world, which we all do, man. Let's be our own people, and something I want to get your opinion on camera that we talked about off camera was, we're talking a lot right now about, especially with Trump being shot, we're talking a lot about the presidential race, but I tell you my take. We worry too much about who the president is. I support Donald Trump, and I think we have absolutely the worst president in the history. And I know Andrew said this the other night. It's not really an opinion. It's fucking facts, man.
Yeah.
The facts are there to show he's the worst president we've ever had. But what we have to stop worrying about, in my opinion, or start worrying about more. We should worry about who the president is. I shouldn't say it like that. But what we should worry about more than who the president is being the own president of our lives and taking care of ourselves and not depending upon the government. I know that every part of the country has challenges, especially weather events. I live in Hurricane Alley. In 2020, we got our ass kicked by Hurricane Laura. And if you thought the government, not local government, I worked in local government and we took care of our people. We had a great sheriff, but the government's not coming to save you, man. You got to take care of yourself and you got to take care of your family in every facet. And we got to raise kids who think that too. And so what's your opinion on that? And then we'll talk about this, the result of how we're raising kids. And the result is this pencil dick that shot Trump the other day.
No, I completely agree. I mean, the president's just a figurehead. The president really doesn't do anything on his own for the most part. I tell a lot of our young kids at the firehouse, back when, when Trump was running, they're like, oh, are you voting for Trump? You voting for Trump? And these are, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that may have been their first election ever to vote in.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let me ask you this. I said, I don't know exactly where you live or, what part of town or whatever. Who'd you vote for your school board? Who'd you vote for your city council? Who'd you vote for governor, senator?
Yeah.
Your state reps. Well, the look on their face, they thought the presidential election was the only fucking election they voted in.
When those elections really matter more.
And those are the biggest ones because that's the feeding frenzy that, a lot of people start in school board or township trustee or city council, and then they get a taste for it and they rise to the top if that's the route they choose.
Yep. But
that's what matters to you right now is who's sitting on your village council or your city council or, whatever you have.
Yeah.
Who's sitting there? Because again, it's still government. They're there for you. And I use that in quotes.
Kind of.
Yeah. I mean, you put them there, they're there for you, but they don't do what James McGee needs.
No.
They're looking at the whole, and that's what
they're really looking at themselves and what how it benefits them. And I was very involved in politics for a very long time, and I can speak firsthand on that. So, but
and that to lead in, I say that to lead into the president's just a figurehead. That's it. So you got to vote. You got to vote small to try to get your results, and then everything else just kind of it's just a bigger version. But it's just amazing how some of these young kids, they don't understand politics. And we could do a whole freaking show on how education's changed and what they're teaching and not teaching now. I remember having to go through civics to be able to graduate. Well, I know a lot of places aren't teaching that shit anymore, so they don't know how the government works.
And that's what we got to teach. Why in the fuck are we teaching or requiring? This how fucked up our education system is. This could be a whole different show.
Right.
So we're requiring. My daughter had to take 2 years of Spanish in high school and 2 years of Spanish in college. She can't freaking speak a sentence of it. But in high school, she's not taking government.
Right.
That's what. Okay, so we're making them take a fucking foreign language, and we're not teaching them how our government works. What we need to be teaching is entrepreneurship and economics and those kind of things. And really in government, what's really important, and I'll tell you something that we, our sheriff came up with and we started teaching, we called it a life skill. I forget. Oh, reality check is what we called it. And we did this after, it was before George Floyd. It was after, I believe, Alton Sterling was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where he was killed by the police. He should have been killed by the police. He was killed by the police. And we came up with, the problem is people don't know how to interact with police. People don't understand that when a policeman, they have a right to get, the Constitution says they can give you a lawful fucking order. And if it's a lawful order, you have to obey it. And that's why people are getting shot. They're disobeying lawful order. So why aren't we teaching that in school to prevent people from getting shot? But no, we're going to make them fucking take Spanish for 2 years. It's fucking ridiculous.
Or just a class along the same lines as that is just a social interaction class.
Because we're losing that.
Yeah.
We're losing
Everybody's
that.
on their phone. Everybody's on their their tablet or whatever, and nobody talks to each other. They text.
No.
Nobody talks to each other.
Yeah, look at Pencil Dick.
Yeah.
So Pencil Dick, this guy, they ain't ever been in a fist. That's the other problem is zero tolerance because people ain't getting their ass kicked enough.
Boom.
Yeah, and he ain't never been. First off, he was 20 years old, never been in a fist fight, never got laid. So that's two issues right there. And that's what we're raising. Now, look, I'm not a generation basher, and you and I are the same generation. I know people in our generation. I'm not a generation basher. We got some badass fucking people in this generation, man.
Yep.
It's just the percentage. We got I think this is the smartest generation we've ever raised. They got information at their fingertips. But at the same time, as far as I talk about men a lot, we have some people who I consider a man's man. Just the percentage of our generation as man's man, they're not. I'd say we probably had 90% of our generation was a man's man. I think maybe 70 or 65 or 70, and that's not a good ratio, man. That's failing grade.
Yep. Absolutely. And everything's changed. If you look back, when our grandparents were raised, different, completely different set of circumstances.
That was the best generation. Our grandparents, World War II generation, best generation ever.
Absolutely. Hardworking, respectful. I mean, those two things alone blow a lot of the shit that we're seeing now out of the water.
Oh man, let me tell you, we were so my son and I have a debris and demo company. And we were doing some debris removal. We had a storm come through doing debris removal for my cousin. So he's my second cousin. That's my mom's first cousin. Well, his dad, who had been that generation, he was my grandfather's. He was my grandmother's sister's husband. I had lived in a rent house behind their house, and I was telling my son, we're out here for 2 hours with some chainsaws. We're like to die. This guy worked from sun up to sundown. After he retired, just look, you can't outwork these guys, and that's where we're losing. Is we're just losing that, and we've got to get that back.
Oh yeah, I mean it's and you're seeing all of this stuff. My girlfriend's got a 12-year-old daughter who is. We make the joke. She's more responsible than my girlfriend and I put together. Super smart, super intelligent.
Awesome.
And gets herself up every morning at 6:30, makes her own breakfast. I mean, she's so self-reliant. And Jill says if she could drive a car and pay the mortgage, she wouldn't even need us around. So she's like, and I'm biased, obviously, but I mean, she's an anomaly comparative to like when I go to school functions and I see how some of these fucking kids act. Yeah. I want to go punch the parents. Like, what's wrong with you? You're not correcting. You're not doing anything. You're allowing this terrorist to fucking run rampant, and you're not correcting at all. I sit there watching. I'm like, I just shake my head. Jill put her hand on my knee. She's like, just settle down. Let your blood pressure go back down. Not our problem.
No, you're right. So and this is the High Level Human podcast. You're definitely a high level guy. How do we raise and how do we produce and develop more high-level people in this day and time?
I'm going to steal a little bit of a line from my buddy Eric Tansey from that Failure to Stop podcast I was telling you about. You have to limit the screen time, whether it's video games, television, phone, tablet. You need to put a cap on that. Granted, you said it earlier, information at your fingertips, and that's all well and good. But the majority of the time that these kids are on, looking at these screens, getting their soul sucked out of them, they're not looking up interesting facts or history or, looking up things they're not being taught in school to try to learn about them. They're playing games or, interacting on social media. It's a catch-22 because obviously we both podcast as a hobby. Mm-hmm. We need people to be on their devices. So it's kind of a catch-22. But also, that's not the audience that you and I are going after anyway. So if you limit the screen time, I think that's number one. Number two is bring back stuff to be taught in school that we were taught. Yeah. That they're trying to banish or erase. The history class now is so different than when I went through. Completely different. They'll scratch the surface of something, but never go into. You saw all over the news, all the statues being torn down and, this and that. You're erasing history. Yeah, that was a bad time. But that's what brought us to where we're at now. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Whether you agree with it or whether you don't, it's just fact. That happened. So that's the most frustrating thing for me because I'm a big history geek. Mm-hmm. And especially Civil War. Like that's my jam. And to see the stuff that's not being taught anymore. I just scratch my head. I'm like, what the hell happened? And society's is what happened.
No, I agree with that. And I think that what goes along the same lines, I think you'll agree, is so because of influence and you and I, it's hard, it's kind of like you said, it's hard for me to say because that's who we need people to have screen time. And here you and I are trying to be influencers. but we're not trying to be fake either.
Right.
You know, what I say, and I've got I wrote down several years ago, and I've done some early podcasts on fundamentals of life. One of my fundamentals is work less on your image and more on your character.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens, I think, too much is, everybody wants to brand themselves, and these kids are trying to don't be something you're not. I can tell you that, I'm, just me being on your show the other night, you could tell I'm a little radical. I'm not Andrew, but I'm a little, I say the F word every other word.
I love it.
But that's who I am. My friends will tell you now, you being in government work and you being a leader, you understand that you can't, I can say things I want to say now, but this is always who I've been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, you turn this camera off, I'm not some, liberal or some meek guy. I'm still who I am. And we got to teach our kids, hey, worry about your character. I'm not trying, I think, man, just meeting you, meeting Dead Leg, Andrew, man, I think that some good things are going to come for all of us, but it's about intentions. We're just being us.
Right.
And we're more on the, hey, build it and they'll come. That's how I'm just getting out here saying things. And I started with, and I don't have the viewers y'all have yet, but I started with no viewers, and you started with no viewers, and people are listening. So just build it, be yourself, and quit worrying about your image, and develop figure out who the fuck you are.
Right. Exactly. Who are you down to the core? Down to the
core. Fundamentally, who are you? You be whatever you want to be, but be that person.
Yep. And that's, with a lot of the stuff, that's going on in the world. I don't care what you are, who you are, what color you are. Just be a good person.
That's that. My son asked me, my son's 29 now. He was a college football player, tremendous athlete, just a really good person. And he asked me, he's probably 16 or 17, and we were talking one night, and he said, Dad, what do you want me to be when I grow up? I just want you to be a good guy.
Yeah.
So everything else will just take care of itself. Just be a good guy. Be a good friend. Get married. Be a good husband. Be a good dad. Just be a good person. Everything else takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm. Be a role model for somebody, at least one.
Yeah. First off, for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it is funny, like meeting. I used to be an assistant fire chief and got to travel a bunch. And I went down to probably one of the best classes I've ever gone to through FEMA down at College Station through TEACS, mm-hmm. and went through the incident enhanced incident management class.
Yep, I've been through it.
One of the greatest classes I've ever gone to, because
mm-hmm.
you sit there and you go through the NIMS, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, and you see all these documents, but you never know what they do. And then when you get put into scenarios and you see the document as a living document making its way through, but the people that I got to meet, LA police officers that helped with, and these are all just silly little things, but helped when they were moving the space shuttle, and their incident action plans. They were talking about that, but LA police officers, I probably never would have met one. A captain who's now a battalion chief for Honolulu Fire Department. Never would have met him probably. And we still talk. And we still bounce, whether it's work stuff or just life stuff. So you meet different people the more you get out there and put yourself out there.
Relationships are everything.
Yeah.
So I met Tom Wells at National Academy. I met Rich through Tom. Met you through Rich. We have to, that's something that I want the next generation, man. That's how the world works. And that's how things happen. And, I had a pretty good crew of guys, and I felt like I had when I went to the academy, it was 240 people there. And I worked on my self-improvement, worked on my fitness, did all that, but I also went to the bar every night and socialized and met a lot of people and talked to them. And my wife went to the National Academy a year and a half ago, and I had I told her the same thing, and she experienced it. I got on the elevator the day of graduation with a guy I never fucking seen. I was there for 3 months. So this guy just locked himself in his room. What are you doing, dude? You
Right.
know? And then, so I leave Friday. You're going to be going to your deal, but I'm going, Tom and I are going. And even though now I'm retired and I'm going the rest of my life, man, I'll pay for it myself. I'm going the rest of my life to this conference just because of it. And it's going to be great for the show. I'm going to do a couple podcasts while I'm there with some guys.
Oh, nice.
And that's just the power of networking. That's just how things work, man. If you're not, first thing, if you got to look at, if you're not where you want to be in life, you got to look at yourself. You got to look at your relationships second. Where are your relationships? Are you building positive and good relationships?
Right. Where are you putting your efforts?
Yep.
And is it beneficial to you? Is it beneficial to the world and everybody around you?
Yeah.
And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you have to take care of yourself first, and you have to have that self-reflection and have the balls to tell yourself, hey, you're fucking up, man.
Yeah.
You're acting like a piece of shit. I have these inner dialogues with myself all the time. Get your shit together, dude. Quit feeling sorry for yourself. Yeah. Get up. You're a grown-ass man. Fix it.
Yeah. You got kids, a mortgage, and get your fucking self up.
Right.
And I'm glad you said that, because I used to live on, I was proud, man. You said, man, I put myself last. Put everybody first. Well, let me tell you, I had to take a good look at myself a couple months ago. I was putting everybody first. And you know who was suffering was me. You can't take care of other people unless you take care of yourself. And I wasn't taking care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was trying to fix everybody else when I realized, hey, motherfucker, you're the one that's broken.
and that's a hard pill to swallow.
It is, man. It is. You got to have the humility to say that and really mean it and look at it. And that's when I went on this. I'm going to take care of myself first. Now, putting yourself first, I'm not going to be selfish, and I'm not your selfish needs don't come first.
Right.
But your physical, mental, emotional health and well-being comes first, so you can take care of everybody else. Because I'm a fixer. That's what I do. But I was fixing everybody else's problem. My world was falling apart. They didn't know it, Jason. They didn't know it.
Yeah. And it's very, it's the same. I mean, it's a weird analogy, but, I tell, our young kids that are just starting to drive the ambulance or, drive the fire, new fire truck drivers, slow down. If you don't make it to the emergency, guess what? What good are we? Yeah. If you plow through an intersection and, and hit a minivan full of kids and a soccer mom, A, you're going to prison. B,
100%. Yes.
Yeah. Oh shit. You said it. Hold on. That's our stupid game on our podcast. Anytime that phrase is said, we have to drink because.
Well, yeah, but if I'm on there more, you're going to get drunk because I say that a lot.
So, funny story. A friend of ours listened to when we first started, and he goes, "Do you realize how many times you guys say that?" And I'm like, you're looking back, you don't really think about your own dialect. And
no, you're right, man.
And then you're like, "Holy shit, you're right." So we made it a game, and then like when we have guests on that don't know, we're like, "Oh yeah, we didn't tell you before you came on." Every time it's said.
You're right. So what did you learn about yourself? I'm glad you said that. What did you learn about yourself when you started doing podcasts? I know that I had when I started listening, like your friend you talked about that, man, he had the voice and all that. Mine's like fingernails on a fucking chalkboard. So I'm like, I'm mindful of that because I get high pitched. I get like the other night, I couldn't even help it because y'all had me so fired up. Talking about the Secret Service blaming local law enforcement. I lost everything. But what did you learn about yourself when you started watching and listening?
It's weird. Like you never know. Like I very rarely, outside of like the quick edit that I do before, I put our audio out, is you don't realize what you sound like. And it's so weird. So like like to your point, like I'm like, oh, I hate how my voice sounds. Yeah. Of course, I've got a loving girlfriend who's like, oh no, your voice is sexy. It's hot. You know, you're
Yeah,
doing great. Da, da, da. I'm like, yeah,
keep
well,
fucking lying.
yeah, you're just saying that, motherfucker.
Yes.
But to be honest with you, like I learned that I was before doing this, and I mean, I still do. I'm not guilty of it. I feel like I'm a lot smarter now because I'm fact checking more versus doing what a lot of people do. And, oh, well, I heard this and this is true, you know, X, Y, or Z. If I see something, I look 3 or 4 other places to confirm it before I say it, because now that, you know, you're putting yourself out on the internet, it's there forever.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with being wrong. And I want people like that Cincy guy, Cincy 513 in our podcast, that he's always razzing us, you know, because he does not agree with our point of view, which is great. But I'm like, hey, buddy, send me the article that you're seeing, whatever it is you're saying, because I've looked all over and I can't find it. Here's my email address. Send it to me now.
Facts are wrong. Yeah. Where's your facts? Yeah, exactly.
So
And
I've learned
to
to be better about that. And even just in everyday life, running around town, of not just saying, oh, you know what I heard? I heard this. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Nah,
I used to be really
I agree
bad
with
about
that.
that.
Yeah, but now, you know, yeah, you're right. It's there forever. And what I'm proud of you on is what you recognize is the responsibility of having a voice.
Yeah.
You know, even though you and I consider ourselves, you know, low level or not, I think we're doing good, but you know, how about that? We're a small podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
We still recognize we have responsibility when you have a platform, and that's where I think the national media just sucks. Is when you have I went through. I know you and I talked. You watched the Fall of Minneapolis, and no way can you watch that with an open mind, even if you're a liberal, and not come to the conclusion that there are 4 policemen who were in prison for no reason.
Yeah.
So I did a podcast on that. But when I tell you I've never done more research and more homework, because Jason, I didn't want to be wrong.
Yeah. And
if I'm going to call you and I called them out, and you already know when I call you out, I'm calling you out fucking hard. I called them out, but I did my homework and I was factual. I'm glad you said that, because I even recognize, being a small podcast host, you can get up there and just say crazy shit and you're going to get some listeners because people like to listen to crazy shit. But man, be responsible and have your facts. You know, I did some research before I called this guy pencil dick. I did my research, and he's a pencil dick piece of shit. Who fell into this? I think it was either you or Andrew that said this the other night. They fall into this false narrative and listening to the media. So the media is not responsible. The little bit of blood from Donald Trump's ear, that's on their hands, Jason. It's on their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I was at the pool when it happened, and you know, everybody's a buzz, right? I mean, all the headlines are hitting, and not all of them are correct. And then we see how CNN was going to put it out. You know, Trump rushed off the stage by Secret Service after he falls. What? Are you fucking kidding me? I mean,
the man doesn't fall. That's Bernie that fucking falls.
Right. So I mean, that's huge. Don't get me wrong, but something like that, somebody could have taken that and literally gone, you know, let's just say that was a podcaster that said that, and a loyal listener goes, holy shit. Oh no, he wasn't shot. And now you have and I like a good conspiracy theory, don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
now you have these people making all this shit up and not listening to what the actual facts are, because James McGee said it. He just fell. There wasn't a gunshot. What are you talking about? And you could show all the evidence, and they still will not believe it.
Well, let me tell you, and that's you're right. But let me tell you what you want, what I want. I'm going to say, I'm not going to be, and I want to talk in a second. I want our listeners to know even how a small podcast host gets censored, and I'm jealous because you've been censored a couple of times and I haven't. But even as a small podcast host, I want to be factual and I want to have credibility. So I want people to know, and I know you're the same way. If James McGee tell you it's Easter, go dye your fucking eggs. Because he did his research and he's speaking facts. Now, my opinion is my opinion, and we're all right to our opinion. But if I tell you, hey, you know, Donald Trump did this, or Joe Biden did this, I got the facts to prove it.
Yeah.
And I'm not just trying to get clickbait. What's the importance of that, even in small platforms like us?
Well, you said it. I mean, having your facts straight. But even if you have your facts straight, to go into the censorship stuff, even if you have facts and you're using the YouTube platform or Spotify's platform, wherever you're putting your stuff out, whatever podcaster you are, you sign off on their all that fine print that I agree to the terms. Well, they bury all this stuff in there, and they have the right to block it, take your episode down, if it's too controversial or whatever. But it's so subjective, and that's the hard part, is you either have AI scrubbing it, and then if it gets a flag, then it goes to a person. And I had to learn all this firsthand, because we did one, and it was on Diddy, P. Diddy, doing all his shenanigans.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how I titled it, or whatever. It's like something like P. Diddy and P. Diddy's disgusting, or whatever. And then in the description, I typed out what he's being accused of.
Yeah.
And then we talked about it. And then I get an email, I release it, and we went live. So whoever was watching it live got to see it. But after you posted and it sat and it went through their algorithm, they yanked it. And I'm like, well, what the hell? And they yanked it on two things. One, it was subject not suitable for kids, which I clicked. It's not. I already that's clicked for every one of our.
My head's about to blow. Some of the shit they allow.
Right.
Some of the shit they allow, and they're going to fucking say that.
And
it was censoring you.
You got 3 dudes from Cincinnati that had an opinion, right? Or actually, at the time, it was just me and Dan. So 2 dudes from Cincinnati had an opinion, and they didn't like it. And when you set up your YouTube channel, you click whether it's acceptable for children or not. Ours are always explicit. Our language is terrible, and our content a lot of times is terrible.
Proudly,
yes. So I know that for everyone. I keep it that way. But they blocked us on that, and then they pulled in our theme music. Well, when we started this, I went to a royalty-free site, free music, that was out there on the internet, open to everybody, downloaded it, and used it for 2.5 years. And we've been video for probably 1.5 years. Our first year we were just audio, but we were still using it. But they got it, and they flagged on that I stole somebody's music. I'm like, dude. So I went through the appeal process and said, I've been using this music since, and I said, I got use rights, March 31st of 2022. It's the first time. Go back and listen. It's there. I said, how am I just now getting flagged for it? This is a site I got it off. And I typed them an email, or in the text box like this. And I'm like, whoever owns it, I need them to explain to me why I've been allowed to use it, but now all of a sudden I'm not. And all of a sudden, guess what? Everything was released. Because I battled them. They're expecting people just be like, oh, okay. Nope, can't say that. No, fuck you.
Yeah.
Tell me why. Give me the reason why. And then they didn't even explain, what the content was that got us put in YouTube jail. But it went away. But it took 3 or 4 days. So that's 3 or 4 days that video didn't get to be watched.
So does that that tells me, Jason, maybe you're not as small as you think, and maybe you're more of a threat than you think. maybe people like us are the threat, and they're recognizing it.
Yeah.
And I think that we are.
And I make the joke all the time. I mean, obviously, I understand. We had one. It was completely my fault, but I played a section of South Park. It was probably 1 minute and 20 seconds. Now, I've always been told that if you talk over it and you're commentating on it, that you can play it. I didn't talk enough over it, I think. So they took that one down. I was like, okay, I get that. I did steal their shit, not unintentionally, but I just went in, cut that section out, and because it was still a great episode, but I just cut that episode out, and then I just went in and explained the context of why that gap was there. But so I mean,
you
there
should
is
be able to walk the line.
there is things that are my fault, and I get that, but let me fuck up. But I don't need you to decide what's right and what's wrong.
That's right. And I want to follow the rules, but I'm going to straddle that line. It's just like I tell my CPA, look, I don't want to get indicted, but I want to get close.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
what's funny, James, is I say the same thing, like not the exact same thing, but I'm like, you get me as much money back, I don't care.
Yeah.
But just get it.
Yeah, I don't want to get indicted. I want to follow the law, and I'm not going to do anything illegal, but I want to get really, really close.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's the same thing here. I want to follow. Look, it's their, these platforms that we on. We have to also give them a little credit. It's theirs, Jason. We don't pay for it. It's YouTube, so it's pretty much we're at their mercy somewhat. But don't talk about that you're having, because all these platforms, they sell themselves on, hey, this is free speech and no censorship. Well, I think you just need to be honest. If you're going to say, hey, we're going to fuck, if you're going to do that, say, hey, you know what? This is our deal. And we're going to censor you. Just be honest with everybody and tell them, this platform, we're censoring people because we fucking can and we own it.
Yep.
But if they do that, nobody's going to listen. Nobody's going to listen to their stuff.
Exactly.
They're not going to get
nobody's going to want to sell ads. Nobody's going to want to sell ads on it. They're not going to make any money.
Nope.
So I make a joke all the time. I'm like, my plan is we're going to Facebook jail again. We're going to YouTube jail again. That's my plan.
Well, now I got to catch up. Y'all been doing this 2 years longer than me. So I got a little excuse, but I got to catch up. I've been trying to get censored and I just can't.
Keep hanging out with me. I'll help.
Now I tell you this, I did get and this was, I had showed this to my wife. I had TikTok because I do my shorts. I'll do the podcast. Like I'll cut some of the things from this episode and I'll put them on TikToks as shorts. And I forget what it was. They didn't approve or they cut one of my videos and I showed it to my wife. She's like, for that, some of the shit you have said, the things you have said and done on TikTok, and they cut you for that. They should have cut you for this, and this.
Yep. The irony is absolutely hysterical, and the double standard.
And I think that it's probably because they have 1,000 people that have this job, and everybody's got their own bias and their subjective. So that's why. But it was kind of funny. But some of the shit they've let go through, and what they blocked me for, So, kind of in closing, Jason, tell us where you're trying to head. What you're trying to do, where do you see your platform? Because you're retiring in a couple of years now. In the same way, I retired on my 50th birthday.
Okay.
And it was awesome. I started when I was 19 years old. It's great. So pretty much you're going to have a free check and you're going to be able to do what you want. Where do you see this headed?
I mean, I'm hoping, I still have so much to learn. I mean, my girlfriend will tell you, I'll be sitting, watching TV with her, but I'm on my phone and I say the screen time thing earlier, but I'm researching how to get better at this because I enjoy it. If I'm going to invest this much time,
yes,
and opinions are opinions. Somebody, one of your followers may watch ours and be like, dude, that's fucking garbage, which, some of them are. You can't hit it out of the park every time.
Yeah.
But I want to try. But the more research I can do, we were talking, before we went on, set design, like you said, you're never always completely happy with it. So just all of the technical stuff, I would love to have another camera, get multiple angles, all these little things. But hopefully at the end of the day, I mean, I'd love to be monetized. I'd love to have actual corporate sponsors. Right now, all our sponsors are, private, they're local. So we're not out of pocket anything, but I'm not bringing money in either.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, this would be a great part-time gig, after I retire. But main thing is it's a great way to spend time with my friends that, I enjoy being with.
Yes.
Life's short. We both know that we've, being in first responder community,
We've seen a lot of death. Yep.
So this is an outlet for me to not have to even, I mean, I'm seeing all the bad shit in the news, but that's fine. I'm making my opinion about it. And, hopefully, get get a lot more followers and subscribers, and that meet more people to be able to network with. But I mean, ideally, to me, it's spending time with my buddies, to be honest with you, and then getting my opinion out. And like I said, it's not always right, but tell me why it's not.
No, I think you're 100% right, and I try to do the same thing. Just like when I used to talk to people about, because you always hear people, man, I'm just not a public speaker. Why? Because you say you're not. Get up there and fucking do it. First thing is confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Get up there with the confidence, and this is how I try to approach it. And I have worse days than others, and sometimes I feel like I felt pretty good on y'all's the other night, and I had fun, and it was the setting was good. Sometimes I get off, man, I'm like, man, I suck. I always want to do good, because people that are listening to this show right now, they could be doing anything else in the world.
Yep.
They could be listening to the other 500,000 podcasts. Look, and they chose to listen to me and you.
Yep.
How powerful and strong is that? So now you seem to be the same way. I feel obligated. I'm going to give you my best. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to, whether, I'd like to make some money with this one day too. I'd like to get some sponsors, but you know what? More than anything, I want to make a difference, and I want to give you my best. However, romantic and cheesy that sounds, I owe you my best because you're fucking listening to me.
Yeah, you're taking time out of your busy life.
Do anything in the world. You could be out there trying to, the young men is what I really want my audience to mainly be, because I feel I have so much to share, not because I'm that smart, because I'm that fucking stupid and I've done more dumb shit in the world. But young guys that listen to me, especially on Mondays, they could be out there trying to rub their pathetic little pecker on their girlfriends, and they're listening to me.
Right.
So we owe them that. And you recognize that. That's why you're trying to get better, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's anything that I'm going to put my time into. I want it to be the best that I can do. And I know there's more that I don't know, but I want to learn it. So you're always chasing that excellence.
You're right. Well, man, I so much appreciate you coming on. And more than anything, I owe Rich forever for hooking us up. I feel like there's some good things that are going to come out of it.
Absolutely.
I really hope we can, continue this and really, and really, that's where the power comes in, is people, like-minded people like us, teaming up, spreading the word, and just, man, more than anything, just having fun with it. And I think that everything else comes with it. So,
oh yeah. And there's just so much. And, my buddy Eric that I was telling you about.
Yeah, I'd love to get hooked up with them.
Absolutely. And we could definitely make that happen. But, he was telling me, wherever you put this out, whether it's YouTube, and some people may not know this, and I'm not trying to speak to people like they're dumb if they do know it, but I didn't know it for like the first 6 months. On YouTube, you want to make sure you hit the subscribe button. Try to comment, throw some comments in there. Even if it is a pre-recorded show, you'll still get the comments. That hits the algorithm.
Got you.
If you put it out audio, we use the platform Buzzsprout, which pushes it out to everything. I just upload it once and it pushes it out to, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Google Podcasts when it was there. It sends it out everywhere. But what people don't realize is if you just click play, that number doesn't go toward your analytics. You need to download the episodes.
Really?
Which I did not know.
I had no idea, really.
So you need to push, and we push it on ours, in our descriptions and everything else. Subscribe, like, download.
No shit. So I might be getting more listens than I think.
So yeah. So what I've heard is it's a 3-to-1 ratio, but really in reality it's a 5-to-1. So, let's just say you've got 10 downloads, you probably have 30 listens.
And now I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't download anything on.
I never did
Spotify.
Either.
When I listen, I don't download.
I never listened there. I never did that either.
That, I'm glad you told me that, because that makes sense. Because, sometimes I'll get, like on Spotify, I'll get 5, but I've had 15 people tell me, "Hey man, I heard your stuff and I liked it." Yeah. And I'll get some messages and I'm like, man, that's just not representative of that.
Yeah. So we always say subscribe, download, and then also leave a rating and a review.
Well, that's some good information.
Platforms. So that's something that we always try to push it. A lot of times I forget, but try to push that out for new listeners that may not know.
So, people looking for you, where can they find you?
So, like I said, we're on YouTube. One more ampersand, and I'm out of here. So one more, and I'm out of here. Okay. We're also we got Facebook, Instagram, all the same. My personal is at jkeef21, KIEF 21 on Instagram. But and we're on all the audios. So whether it's Apple, Spotify, iHeart. But yeah, give us a look or a listen. You might like it, you might not.
I have full plan. Now you're in the Cincinnati area, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I am. I told Tom and I told Rich, I've been a Cincinnati Reds fan since I was little. Pete Rose and Johnny Bench. And so a guy named Dave Wiseman, word up, Dave. He listens to the show. I'm gonna see him Friday. He's gonna be at the conference. So Dave, when we were at the conference last year, he was telling me how big of a deal that opening day of the Cincinnati Reds are. It is this big thing from what he told me.
Oh, it's a holiday.
Yeah, so I plan on coming next spring. I plan on coming and hopefully we can hook up in person whenever I'm there. But man, I'd love to keep doing some stuff with y'all. And like I'll say it one more time, I think this is how we make the difference is people like us getting together and agitating the fuck out of the liberals and of the people that are trying to censor us, because they're gonna have to censor all of us.
Yep, absolutely. You are so right.
So
James, I appreciate you inviting me on again, man. This is awesome.
No, we'll definitely, like I said, I look forward to a good relationship with y'all. To all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this show. Jason, you're definitely a high level human, and we loved having you. Until next time, McGee and Kiefer are out.